Everyone knows that playing with Barbies is fucking... Oh, I can't say that. I'm going to have to bleep that out.
We're going live.
No. We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday. We are not live. This is pre-recorded, but I'll tell you what, it's just much easier to use StreamYard to produce all this soup to nuts right at the beginning. So I don't have to download this and do the offline editing to do the separate bumper that shows that we're not live. I'm just going to tell you we're not live today. Okay. All right, guys, before I get too far into this, you know how I do this on pre-recorded episodes. Do like, subscribe, hit those notifications if you would please. Do feel free to sound off in the live chat, even though this is a pre-recorded live. I'm usually in there in the mornings while I'm editing videos when we do these pre-records anyway. So I'm usually in there, but if I'm not in there, chat amongst yourselves. You guys can send super chats during these pre-record lives. I just can't share them on the screen. But if you send a super chat during one of these pre-records, I will screenshot it and I will give you a shout out on social media. And guys, look, there's chicks out here getting $500 super chats just for looking cute. All right. Like, I'm out here actually giving you guys actionable information that you can use to actually get real women. So consider sending super chats. You don't have to send $500, but at least send a couple bucks to your boy, because that helps these podcasts continue. Guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Do get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you a bunch of free stickers like this. And if you don't want free stickers, just put don't want stickers in the address field, and I won't waste a stamp on you. But you do get 20 dating app openers that are guaranteed to capture a woman's attention in the first 7 words. And you do get a free copy of my book, Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18, which is available on Amazon and Audible. Guys, join the beer club. This is what we're going to be talking about today. We are going to be talking a lot about beer club today because my boy David, or, you know, from beer club, he wanted to come on and he wanted to share his story, and he wanted to talk about what he loves about beer club, because he doesn't think I'm selling it enough. You know, he doesn't think I'm selling it well enough. And then, guys, coaching is available. I do have a couple spots open. I just recently lowered my prices on this. So if you've been thinking about working with me one-on-one, but you thought that the prices were too rich for your blood, check it out now. It's a little bit more affordable, I think. And it's more in line with what some of the other guys I'm noticing are charging in the space. So give that a try. Go to coaching.comeonmanpod.com and book a free call with me first, and just see if working with me is even a good fit for you. All right. That being said, like I mentioned, my boy David's joining me today to talk about the beer club, and he wanted to, you know, talk about all the value he's getting into it. He originally joined the beer club because my friend Eric Everhard, legendary prawn star Eric Everhard, was giving a free lecture back in January to all the beer club members, and which that lecture is still available. If you join the beer club now, get in the Telegram group. It's pinned at the top, so you can still watch that seminar. It was a really good seminar. So David joined it because he wanted to see what Eric Everhard had to say. And then he realized just how awesome the community is of guys, and everyone's swapping notes in there. Everyone's, you know, leveling up in some way. And one of the things that David's doing in the group is he's losing weight right now. So he's, you know, going for walks every day, and we're holding him accountable in there. And that's one of the things he likes about the group. So without further ado, let me play a commercial for Beer Club, since that's what we're talking about today. And then I'll bring you that conversation with brother David.
Here's a harsh truth that everybody gets upset about online when I say it. They get upset because of their ego investment into the fairy tale idea of love and partnership. They get upset because of their ego investment into the idea that their woman is their best friend, their confidant, and they think that love will conquer all, and that their woman will be there through thick and thin. The truth is that as a man, your woman is hardwired biologically and psychologically to want you to be her rock. It doesn't work the other way around. Women do not care about your struggles as a man. They may think they care. They may even want to care. But her evolutionary DNA will not let her care. If you bring her your problems, she will lose attraction for you over time, and she will leave. Now, whenever I talk about this, people lose their minds and start talking about men unaliving themselves. The faster that men learn that women don't care about our struggles, the faster we'll save the lives of men. Men off themselves because of their own ego investments in the Disney fairy tale lie. And when that fairy tale goes up in flames, they get zeroed out and they end things. Men do need a proper outlet for dealing with their problems, but going to their woman isn't the answer. Men need a tribe. They need a brotherhood. That's why I created my beer club. It's a monthly virtual hangout for men only. It's a place where men can be men. It's a place where men can talk about guy stuff without having to worry about offending women. It's a place where they can go without having to worry about being called toxically masculine. It's a place where they can go to solve their problems. Because men solve problems. Women cause problems, you dig? Visit beer.comeonmanpod.com. That's beer.comeonmanpod.com to sign up.
All right, joining me on the podcast today is one of my beer club brothers. He's also a relatively new 3% brother. He's a Windshield master. He's a cigar connoisseur. His name is David. What's going on, brother? How you doing today?
Man, it is great to be here for the Bauer Power Hour. You know, instead of killing terrorists this time, we're going to be talking about the whammon, and we're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. At least I hope so.
Yeah, well, just like Uncle Jack Bauer, who I'm assuming you're alluding to. I always go rogue, just like Uncle Jack, but instead of fighting terrorism, I'm fighting the whammon. That's what we're doing today. So, hey, let me ask you this question. You've been a follower of the podcast for a long time, following me on social media and stuff like that. How did you first find the podcast?
I don't even remember, to be honest with you, Paul. It was probably on TikTok. I've been following you now, I want to say for, it's got to be 3 years. You were still, I mean, this is the way beginning before you were on Rule Zero. This was way back in the day. I think it was maybe episode somewhere in the 30s or 40s. Back in the day, and a lot of the stuff that you talked about made a lot of sense. And quite frankly, it was a fun podcast. I only listen to a couple podcasts. This is the main one I listen to. It was just a lot of fun. You had a good head on your shoulders. So very relatable because, you talk about your past all the time, especially, being in your late 40s. I'm 51 now. As my kids like to call me, they either refer to me as Father Time or the Ancient One. I've been around since Christ was a corporal in God's army. And quite frankly, we had a lot of things in common. Now, you were married for a number of years. I'm actually still. I'm actually serving my 26th year in a 25 to life sentence. So I've been there. I've been there a while.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned you listened to a couple other podcasts. What are your other go-tos?
So I listen to a podcast occasionally by a guy named Jeb Blunt. He's a prospecting master. I'm into sales. I when you say I'm a windshield master, I'm in the windshield repair industry. I don't do replacements. I haven't replaced a window in 27 years. I fix like those chips, dings, and cracks that appear in windshields up to 1.5 feet long. And just last month, April 11th, was my 31st anniversary doing that. So as a sole proprietor, it's me, myself, and I. I'm a sole operator. I've tried hiring people in the past. Doesn't work. I always create my own competition when I do that. But I go out every single day when I work and I prospect. I hit the streets. I'm either walking in the doors, I'm making a telephone call to find out who the person is, and so the majority of my day is prospecting, and then I set up for the next day, or right then. I try to sell them right then too. I'll just walk in and start selling windshield repairs. So it's fly by the seat of your pants, live or die by the moment. Yeah.
I think you and I have that in common. We've talked about that in beer club and stuff like that. About I used to do door-to-door off supply sales. Same difference. Prospecting, you're knocking on doors and talking to people.
I actually used to run a few back in the day when I did full windshield replacements, and I was manager for companies. I used to run teams of canvassers, of guys that would go up to the doors, knock on doors, and either sell them a windshield replacement, windshield repair. I've actually done that on my own on weekends when I've needed to, because I do 90% of my business is the windshield repair, but the 10% of it is the headlight restoration, where I'll buff and polish the headlights, and then I'll coat them so they won't refog right over again. It's really a simple business. The nice thing about it is you keep 100% of what you earn.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah, and it's sort of like, it's one of those situations where if you don't go out and work, you don't eat, right?
Right. And I've, over the years, I've probably trained over 200 people in the business. But the thing that I can't train, I always say I can teach a monkey to fix chips. Windshield repair is easy. It's not hard. But the thing that I can't seem to train, and I'm sure you're going to understand this because you were in, the canvassing business yourself, but I can't teach people to get their ass out of bed and show up for work that day. Oh, well, they'll always find an excuse to not go out and do something. Oh, well, I could just do something tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I just can't train that. I can't seem to train that into people. So most people I've trained are not in the business. There's a few.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to teach people skills. It's kind of difficult to teach people a work ethic and discipline.
Well, I mean, self-discipline. You've got to be able to make yourself. And a lot of people say, "Well, I don't have the motivation." Motivation has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Get your ass up, get out the door, and go do it.
It's the same with the gym. It's like, well, I don't want to go to the gym today. I don't feel like it. Well, I don't fucking feel like it either, but I have to. I made a promise to myself. So if it's one of the things I do, I fucking do it. Right. Like that's the difference between discipline and motivation. Like you have to wait for motivation. So I mentioned the beginning here, you're one of my beer club brothers and you're a 3% brother.
Well, I've been in beer club longer than I've been in 3%. I'm going through right now my 8th read. I usually do it on Audible. I'm on my 8th read of 3%. Man, I have it on Kindle. I usually listen to it on Audible. But I'll give you an example. I listen to it on Audible all the time, and you get a lot of good information out of it. But this time I'm going through it. You can see in my phone here how I've highlighted.
Right.
I go through it with a stylus pen now. And I was on the chapter on first date and things like that. And, he talks about not being boring. I'm just exiting out of it right now. Not be boring. And that's stuff you've talked about, a lot on your podcast and stuff. And we just had our beer club last week. It was actually a really good beer club. Although the one problem with it is I was the only guy there that had hair. Every person was bald, and I've been talking about going because my hairline's going so far up, but they're going to see lots and lots of scars on my head from different surgeries I've had once I do that. But it's a thing coming. We had a great beer club, and again, I'm basically a new member of the 3% Brotherhood, but you were the one actually who turned me on to 3% Men. Now, full disclosure, I started reading books on sales, self-development, when I was 19 years old. I was fired from a job, and it was way back in the day. And I remember I was really good friends with my manager, and he told me, he says, "David, you're great at selling. You're great at talking to people. You can't manage people worth shit. You're too easy." Am I past the 8-minute mark?
This is a pre-record, so probably because I have to separately do the intro, but you're good. You're good. Say whatever you want.
Anyway, he was like, you're really good at selling people. You're really good at talking to people. You're an extrovert. You're not afraid to go up and approach people, but you're not good at dealing with in some of the finer aspects. I was never afraid to approach, but I had to work on people skills. And I remember we were such good friends. He flew into town and he fired me, and we hung out that night. That's how good of friends we were. But he handed me a book that changed my life. And I've made it a point every single year to read that book. And it was a book that you've talked about, but it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And one of the biggest problems I had when I was a punk ass little bitch, back in my young days, back in high school and even coming out of high school.
Back when you knew everything?
Oh, man, my daughter's still like that. And she's 25. I mean, mom and dad are the stupidest people on the planet. But that's okay. She'll learn someday.
She should be snapping out of that pretty soon. Yeah,
I hope so. But I love to argue back then. You get me into a conversation. And I remember when I read that book for the first time, it stuck with me. About the fact is, there's a chapter specifically that goes into it, and it says, how do you win an argument? You don't have one to begin with, because no one wins an argument. Even if you win an argument, let's say you're a debate master and you want to get in debating people, don't have the argument, because even if you win, you're going to cement that person you're arguing with into their own opinion, and you haven't won anything. So what's the point of arguing? You're not going to change someone's mind.
And they're going to think you're an asshole. You know,
they're going to think, oh, I'm that anyway most of the time. You know, yeah, you're going to cement them into their thing, and they're just not going to listen to you. They're going to close you off. So I just, and it's come with time. I haven't always been this way. I've just, when someone says something that I think is really fucking stupid or something, I just, oh, that's interesting. Nice to know that. Good for you.
Yeah, my ex-wife had a problem with arguing, which is really funny, because she used to always talk to people about, oh, you got to read How to Win Friends and Influence, or How to Win Friends and Influence People. She never once read the fucking book. Never, not once. She was not a reader, but she used to mention that book all the fucking time. And I'm like, you're so fucking fake. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. What her thing was, she used to argue all the time with her brother-in-law. She had this brother-in-law, and that guy is just a big egomaniac, know-it-all type guy. He's a bragger. He likes to show you how fucking awesome he is, likes to show you all of his cool new toys, that kind of guy, right?
Well, he's trying to impress you.
Yeah.
He wants you to think more of him. I mean, so you were married. I mean, I've been married for a long time. One thing that I've realized about How to Win Friends and Influence People that I never realized before, but after getting in the red pill space, everybody talks about, so a lot of people that read How to Win Friends and Influence People do not take the right things out of it. And let me explain. So when you read How to Win Friends and Influence People, like, let's say you had a multi-level marketing company tell you, or you just want to get into the space, you know, of self-help and everything. You'll read some of the things like not to have an argument. And you think that, oh, well, that means you need to be submissive with people. Or the fact that, you know, he talks about people love hearing their name. Or there's so many different things in the book. They don't realize that back then when this was written, I think it was in the 1920s, early 1930s when Carnegie wrote it. Men back there were actually men. They were taught by their fathers. They didn't have to talk about frame or all these other things. So that was just kind of a common thing that went along with people. And I think some of the people that read these old books, I don't think they realize a lot about it, and they take some of the wrong things out of them, or the way it should be used. They need to understand that these men back there who wrote these books, they were men. They were captains of industry. They were not meek people. They were not, you know, worried about what their opinions were. They were imparting information that would help people that didn't just know how to talk to people. And that's what I took that away probably after my 20th read, because I read it once a year. Yeah.
But going back to what I was saying, my brother-in-law, or my ex-wife's brother-in-law, he would be a bragger and stuff, and she would get in arguments with him because she just thought he was so full of himself. Anything he said was wrong. She was just always doing this, and then she was like, I hate this guy, whatever. And then she couldn't understand why I could get along with him. And I'm like, well, that's because when he tells me all these great things that he's doing, I just go, oh, cool. Yeah, that's cool, man. I don't argue with him about it. Like, what's the argument
about it? Why? I mean, yeah. It's like, okay, so you mentioned before I smoke cigars. I call myself a cigar whore, just because I smoke cigars all the time. And I go to...
I'm surprised you're not smoking right now.
I'm in my son's room, actually, because he had the computer set up. If it was you and I talking, I'd be on my cell phone or in my car with my laptop. Probably wouldn't be as good of a connection. But yes, I wish I had a cigar right now. I will after the podcast. Let's put it that way. Anyway, when you go to a cigar lounge, you're always meeting different kinds of people. And it's all guys. Some women come in, you know, it's still kind of one of those spaces where it's mostly guys. And all guys do is bust on each other all day long. You cannot walk into a cigar lounge with a thin skin, because it is going to be like, you know, it's going to be a dog pile. Everybody's just going to go after them. So you got to let things not bug you too much.
Yeah, I had to learn that. I learned that mostly in the military, I think. But another place where we bust on each other a lot is the beer club. What made you decide to join the beer club?
Well, you know, at the time, Another person I follow, which you've had on your podcast, was a guy named Eric Everhart, the porn star.
Yeah,
And,
my man Eric. Yeah,
and he was giving a for Beer Club. This is back in January. He was given a free course. It was about an hour and a half long to the Beer Club guys, and I was like, okay, I'll check that out. And so I signed up, and then I got to be a part of Beer Club, and I actually realized it's not really like what you talk about it is when you talk about, and I know I've got you thinking there for a second, but you talk about it as a beer club. We're going to hang out. Yeah, we have a hangout once a month, sometimes twice a month. I mean, if there's a second one and someone's hosting, I'm there, baby. And you'll always see me there with a cigar. I'm sitting outside at a cigar lounger in my car, and we're sitting there talking, we're busting on each other. And it's mostly guys, having a good time talking about stuff. Once in a while, we'll have someone that says, well, I need to talk about something. So they bring their problem before the guys, and they'll get honest opinions from everybody. But where I think the importance of Beer Club comes from is 95% not perceivable, 95% of what people aren't seeing. And that's the Telegram group. People don't realize, I'm part of the 3% Brotherhood on Facebook. Recently, it's only been in the last couple months. That thing's dead. I mean, no one.
Oh, it's so dead.
It's
sad.
I hear you talk about the stories from back in the day, but the Telegram group, holy crap, that thing's going on. I'll wake up in the morning and there's 50 messages on there, and I'm just like, really, guys? And they're just going all day long. And what people don't see when they're looking at Beer Club is, I actually think it's even mislabeled. In terms of the club itself, but people are on there talking. They're talking their problems through. They're bringing either date updates or what do you call them? Field reports. They're talking about what's going on in their lives, how they're leveling up. There's so much that goes on in that group. And what also people don't realize is, and I know you don't talk about this too, but you're in there all day too. You're always responding to stuff. Guys have access to you all the time. And the thing that you require is just put some skin in the game. It's not a free group. Okay. You spend your 10, 11, or whatever bucks it is. And I just don't understand why there's not 50 times as many people, because once people get in there, they don't seem to realize the sheer amount of information accountability that they're going to get from joining that group. I'll give you a personal note. I'm on a weight loss journey again, and I'm on keto. And I've lost a lot of weight. The first time I did keto was right after my kidney transplant, and I lost 100 pounds. And I'm on it again this time to lose 60 pounds. I'm over a third of the way there. And about 2 months ago, when I started keto again, I asked the group to hold me accountable. I'm going to go for walks every day. I want to get an hour of walking in. And there's this guy on there that every day is posting his workout updates. He's posting what he's doing. He's always tagging me. It's this guy named Paul Bauer, and it's like, I did this workout, and he tags Coach underneath there, and I'm like, motherfucker, I got to go out and walk today because he's sitting there holding me accountable. And so he'll sit there and post these, wink, nudge, nudge, and I'll get out there and go take my walk and come back, and and you do this for a couple of the guys. You don't have to do that shit.
Yeah. And there was that time in Beer Club where you were like, yeah, I didn't do it today. I was busy or whatever. So we're like, oh, so you're going to do it on Saturday then, or whatever, like whatever your non-workout day is. Oh, so you're going to make that up, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, son of a bitch. I guess I am. God
damn it. Yeah.
Unbelievable. These fucking guys. But it's so much. It's, I just don't understand with Beer Club why a lot of more people don't join it, because they really are missing out. It's not just about getting together once a month. That is like 5% of what that is. You're getting together with all these like-minded guys, studying the same material, talking to each other about it. You guys have people coming in that are brand new to it. You have other guys that have been there for years, and they're giving advice. I mean, it's a completely underutilized tool. I'm not going to say the names of the people in it, but there's some other people in it that are on other podcasts that really make a big difference. And if you saw them, you would know who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And go back to the 3% Brotherhood being dead, man. It is so sad too, because I really think the reason why the original 3% Man group was much busier is because when I got into it, it was during the COVID lockdowns in 2020. So there was a lot of guys that had fuck all to do. They were at home all day. A lot of the guys in there were scared to go out. I don't know what your feelings are on the whole thing, but like,
I'll tell you exactly what my feelings are. As you mentioned, you heard it before. I'm a kidney transplant patient.
Right.
I spent 8 years on dialysis, or like I like to call it suck and blow. That's what my nickname for the machine was.
Okay.
And I did that, and I had my transplant in February 8th of 2019, right before COVID hit. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
And so every day I have to take immunosuppressants. I take medicine that lowers my immune system to about 15 to 20% what a regular person is.
Yeah.
And so I was a little ahead of the game because I watched this is a genetic dysfunction that my family has. My father had it. And when I was 17 years old in high school graduating, I watched my father go through the same thing and get a transplant. And he died last year, but he had a working transplant for over 31 years.
Oh, that's impressive.
The second longest in the VA California system. And so I was diagnosed at 17 myself due to high blood pressure. And I knew it was coming. Through the years. But I was young, dumb. I didn't really pay attention to things. I'll have to deal with it someday. I could have probably delayed it a lot longer if I would have taken care of myself. But I spent 8 years on dialysis, finally was able to get a transplant. A year before my transplant, I had both kidneys removed. They were so bad. To give you an example, and that was a life-changing event, your normal kidney is about the size of your fist, weighs about a pound. My kidneys, when they were taken out, my left kidney was 15 pounds. My right kidney was 10 and a half. So I was literally carrying twins for about 15 years. I had them removed. Nearly died 4 times after they were removed. In that year that I didn't have any kidneys, I was still on dialysis. Thankfully enough, I was able to beat the odds and get a kidney transplant. And February 8th of this year was my 5-year anniversary. Now, back to your question about what do I think about the whole, I think that was such a overreach. I'm what you call a conservative, whatever title you want to put on. I'm actually not a part of either party at the moment. I think they're both nuts, but this was the common cold. This was maybe a jacked up version. People say, "Oh, you don't take it seriously enough." One of my buddies at the cigar lounge was a surgeon, and he hated the masks because he's like, "I want to get this introduced to my body all the time, so I keep my antibodies high." And what they also don't know, and this was being used in Texas for a while, is during COVID, excuse me, a lot of Texas hospitals started using anti-rejection medicine to deal with COVID because of the fact one of the things COVID does is it overstimulates your immune system. Well, while their immune system is getting overstimulated, they give them an anti-rejection treatment, which lowers their immune system. Yes, they get sick, but it doesn't go over to the fact that they get so sick they have to be put on a ventilator. And they're able to develop the antibodies. That wasn't commonly used all around the country, but it was used in Texas, in a couple different places. I went through almost the entire lockdown without a mask. I got COVID 3 times. I never, even though I only have 20% of a regular person's immune system, I never was sick once.
That's good. I got sick with it a few times, not during the lockdown time, like a year later or whatever, got sick, maybe a year after that too. But like you said, it's just like the common cold. I might have had a fever one night. I was still out running. Like I would go running. Like I would still go. I might have run slower, but I still did it. Like I'm like, this is crazy to shut down the entire fucking world over this.
Well, they ruined so much in terms of the economy. Look what they did with small businesses. You look at San Francisco, obviously leftist central. Yeah. But over 57% of all small mom and pop storefronts are gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, out here too. Yeah.
You can't go and the politicians are like, well, just go start it again. They lost everything they have. They have no money. Their credit's in the shitter now.
Yeah. That happened out here too. But not to get off on a tangent of politics and whatever.
I go on tangents all the time.
Clearly. No, one of the things I was trying to say though was in the original 3% Man Group, there was a bunch of guys that were scared of the virus, so they didn't want to go out, and if they did, they were wearing masks, and they didn't want to expose themselves or expose other blah blah blah. Then there was the guys like me who were like, I'm going out. Like chicks want to meet up. I'm going out. There's nowhere to go. Might as well go out and practice some of this shit. So like there was a bunch of us that were out dating, and we were fucking killing it because there was nothing open. The chicks were bored. It was like chicks were like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's meet up in the park and have wine. You know,
I mean, if anybody should have been scared of COVID, it should have been me.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah,
I wasn't scared at all. One thing they teach you when you become a transplant patient, everything can kill you because you have a low immune system. You can't give in to your fears and let everything guide you down this path of I got to be careful of everything. Once you get a transplant, it's all about quality of life. And it changed for me because before my transplant, I was a very worried person. I'd get upset all the time. It's never in my frame. I get a transplant and then start discovering these odd books like by guys like Brian Stone. Who's this guy? You know, or you know, Rollo Tomasi, and I tune into this really whacked out show called the Come On Man podcast, and I start getting into all these other books that I'm reading. And I said to myself, I made a promise: the next 20 years of my life is going to be better than the last 20 years of my life. I mean, now I came in at different. Most of the guys that are in your beer club, in fairness, they're single. I think I'm maybe the only married guy in there. There might be one other married guy. I don't know.
There's a few guys in there in LTRs.
Yeah, LTRs, but they haven't signed their life away, and
most of the guys won't.
No, I get it. Like I said, I'm 26 years in now. Well, actually, my wife says it's 26 years. It's 182 for me because I count in dog years. But beside the point,
my grandpa. I remember one time they were coming up on their 60th wedding anniversary or something. I was like, wow, 60. I was like, wow, 60 years, Grandpa. Like, I was like, congratulations. He goes, feels like 100.
Yeah. I like to all the time at the lounge. You get guys come in and they're getting married and they're having their ceremonial cigars.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them, most of the guys in there are divorced, and I'll say, well, I'm 26 years, and I'll say, how'd you do it? And I says, well, it's really important that you have to find someone that you're going to find physically attractive. It's really important that you're going to find someone that just gets you, that you can talk to, and stick by you no matter what. But the most important thing is you can't let these people need each other. So,
right, classic, yeah. So you mentioned, we've talked about how you're a 3% brother. So you've read 3% Man. You've read that 8 times.
I'm not all the way, dude.
Okay, you're on your 8th. You're on your 8th pass. You've mentioned other books like Ryan Stone's book. What other relationship and dating type books have you read besides those guys?
Well, I've obviously read your holy trinity of books. Atomic Attraction and Dating Essentials for Men. I've read most of the stuff. Back when I'm married and kind of, they talk about in Red Pill, it's more triage. I think that was definitely for me because I was coming up where my marriage wasn't so good after so many years. And I was reading all these Christian marriage books and because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And then I realized after I started to get into some of the other material, this stuff is crap. I mean,
can you give us an example of something that the Christian relationship stuff gets wrong? And I know the love languages comes from like a Christian background.
I read that and I thought that was amazing. And then and then as I was listening to you, I was listening to about how the love languages, and I started thinking about it going, yeah, you're right. It's almost like contractual. It's almost like contractual sex or what's the word I'm looking for? Making them feel obligatory or
it's obligatory sex. Yeah. It's you're negotiating desire with it.
There we go. Negotiating desire. And I'd read a lot of books that, especially when you come from the Christian's perspective, when you read the books on that, there is no option, even no matter how bad of a situation you're in, you're not supposed to leave. No matter what. And I got this from my dad, who trained me to be a blue pill simp for his whole life. I love him to death. But there was a lot of things that as I started to learn about psychology, especially from the red pill space, that didn't jive with what I was learning there. And I would look into the reasons and really dive deep into the, you have to be able to leave at some point. It can't be your only option as a man is just put up with it.
Just suck it up.
No matter what.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, you know, I'll give you an example here. I was 16 at the time, and I was in an Okinawan martial arts, and my best friend was my instructor, and he was teaching. Great guy. And him and his wife were having problems. There was another couple in the church that I was attending. I like to call it the cult church that I went to school with when I was a young person. And I'm still a Christian. There's some churches that do not teach right. And I remember one day that my instructor and his wife split up. This other guy and his wife split up, and they all switched and started dating each other, which was weird. I was like, okay, that's a little bit different. But I remember the pastor and my dad's best friend coming over to my house one night and telling me I could no longer have association with him because he was not allowed to come to the church anymore. And I says, well, what about his wife and her husband? Oh, well, they didn't do anything wrong. They're not the one that left. Yeah, but they're in a physical relationship now. Mm-hmm. And they wanted me to choose. And I remember, and oh man, this my dad got so mad at this when I was young. But I told the pastor and his best friend, literally, and I didn't cuss back then, but I was mad. I was like, you can fuck off. I wasn't going to be told who my friends were, what I could do. I wasn't, you know, and that was something that really pissed me off back in the day, you know. And it's people are such hypocrites. And sometimes, and I'll say this because I'm a Christian can be some of the biggest hypocrites either. They'll tell you how to live and act, and then they won't do it themselves. I'm a perfect example of it. Okay. Perfect example. You know, I do all kinds of things, but I still have my faith.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah,
have you read Rollo's book on religion?
That's the one I haven't read. I've read the first one, the second one. Actually, I haven't read 3 and 4, but I have read the dating,
the Player's Handbook.
Player's Handbook. I thought that was really good. I've been through Rational Mail about 3 times, all on audiobook, and I've been through the Player's Handbook once. I've got probably 130 titles on my Audible in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And my Kindle edition is getting pretty up there too. If you were to go in my living room or even to my storage unit, I've got boxes stacked to the ceiling, just stuffed with books, marketing, prospecting, sales. You know, it's amazing how much stuff in the red pill in the dating community, like takeaways and things, they come from the sales world.
They do. Yeah. I was talking with, do you know who Jamie Date is?
That sounds familiar. Yeah, no, I do. I've seen some of her stuff.
Yeah, I had her on the podcast once, and she and I were talking about it.
Exactly she is then, yeah.
Yeah, she worked for the same door-to-door office supply company I worked for, and that's one of the things that she and I were talking about offline is how a lot of the original, like the pickup artists from like the early 2000s and stuff like that, they all came from the like door-to-door, you know, or door-to-door sales, you know, business.
Or closers, you know, we had guys, some of the closers back in the day, you know, when we were selling like vinyl siding or cabinet refacing or things, they were security systems. They would go into house and do a 3-hour presentation to get a $7,000 or $8,000 sale. One of the guys had a nickname. Everybody had a nickname. His name was Hollywood because he was really good with the women. He'd go dressed up, snazzy and everything, and they'd go to the clubs after a day of sales. And that guy was he's what you'd call a natural. But he would use sales techniques left and right on these women. He'd takeaways, closes, you know, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It all works. I didn't put 2 and 2 together that sales could work with dating until I read Corey's book and he started talking about that.
Well, it's actually sales that got me to the point where I am today. Now I'm not a dating artist. Like I said, I've been married since Christ was a corporal in God's army. But back in the day and to this day, 31 years later, I prospect every day. I approach people. I talk to people every day. It's the easiest thing in the world. And I know a lot of people get all uptight about it. Yeah, I'm not walking up to women asking for their phone numbers and stuff. But I'm talking to men and women. And I probably talk to at least 15 strangers a day. It becomes really easy and second nature to just be able to walk up and talk to someone.
Yeah.
But you need to get the exposure to it. You need to start doing it. You need to start going out and doing something.
Yeah. I think when guys get past their approach anxiety, the talking part isn't so hard. I think what a lot of guys stumble on is, and Dr. Glover talks about it in Dating Essentials for Men, but getting to that level 3 testing, where in sales that would be asking for the sale, like assuming the sale, and because
Which that's interesting because we've covered some of this in Beer Club. On Telegram.
Yeah. And so it's, I mean, it's literally the same thing. It's like, well, what's harder, asking for a girl's number or asking for somebody's money? You know,
someone's money.
Yeah, I swear that would be infinitely harder, you know? So, asking for a girl's number doesn't hurt, man. Doesn't hurt. So let me ask you this. So you said you're on your 8th read of 3% Man. You got it on Kindle. You're highlighting it. Any aha moments?
Well, I have aha moments every day. And I mean, for example, earlier today, it was talking about the first date, and I wouldn't say it's an aha moment. It was just more of a clarification, especially about being a mystery. When you go on a date, you know, obviously we know Dale Carnegie teaches you want the other person to talk about themselves more, and they relate that to the red pill community. You want to have them doing 80% of the talking, you doing 20%, and that's all fine and good. But you got to be very, you know, when you're answering questions. I love what you call Batman game. I think that's one of the funniest things I ever heard. But when you're communicating with them, you're trying to be a mystery. You have to joke and tease with them, but don't let them off your frame. There's just I have so many things going through my mind right now. When I think about what I've read, I'm kind of in a blue screen of death mode. You know what I mean? Because you have all this information pouring in, and then when you're in the moment and something's going on, you're like, it pops into your brain and you remember it.
Yeah. Well, that's the important thing about guys going out and practicing this stuff, because it really cements it when you experience it, you know, and you're like, oh shit, he talked about this in the book. Like, I know exactly what to do right now. Yeah. But most guys don't do that.
I'll give you an example about Beer Club, and I'll use I don't want to bring up other people's situations, because everything talked about in Beer Club, like Fight Club, stays in Fight Club. But I had a situation, and you remember this. I was walking around the cigar lounge in San Jose, and I was talking to guys. We were having a beer club. I think this was 2 months ago. And I said, guys, I got to talk to you about something. And everybody, whenever someone says that, everybody's like, shh, everybody shuts up, and they start paying attention, because the guys at Beer Club they really want to help their other brothers out. And that's why I consider them as brothers. And I had a situation where they talk about in the books, you know, women may think, and you talk about this all the time, women may think they want to hear your problems. They don't. They really don't. They may think they want to do it. And again, I screwed up with Pooch. You know, I've been learning the game on hard mode, being married, and it's been helping tremendously in my relationship after all these years. But I screwed up that one day. And I brought it. I was pissed off about something. I don't even remember what it was, but I brought the problem before Beer Club and says, guys, I went too far, and I started telling her about my problem, and I started showing emotion about it. And then I realized I stopped mid-sentence when I was doing that to her, because I remembered Paul and the book all said they don't care. They may think they do. They don't care. You're going to lose attraction points doing this. So I said, I stopped, and I went, honey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. You don't need to worry about this. I've got it. It's covered. I've thought of a solution. Don't worry about it. Now, had I thought of a solution at that point? No, but she didn't need to know that. And she was like, oh, good. It's great to hear, honey. And then she goes off and does her thing. And I told the whole Beer Club about it, and going, you know, I screwed up, guys. And there's been other guys that talked about there and screwing up. And I wanted to bring my problem before them. And did I do the right thing? And they were all like, yeah, you did the right thing. I wasn't 100% sure at the time, but I thought I was.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, we're human, you know, like we're accidentally going to word vomit something that we probably shouldn't. So it's just like, the real big key to it is being aware of it, which you were. And so it's like, yeah, you know what?
Well, that's what people don't realize.
Yeah.
The actual Beer Club, the actual video call we do once or twice a month, it's like that much of the group. Everything happens on Telegram, and these guys are missing out because they have no idea. I mean, for example, you do 3 podcasts a week. We talk about these. We actually get, you know, I want to say almost behind the scenes notes or thoughts and things like that. And we actually go into a lot of detailed discussions, or guys will bring up examples in their lives, and we'll talk about it. And people, again, they just don't know what's going on back there. And I think so many guys are missing out because they're thinking, why would I go and hang out for 2 hours and pay for it to have a video conference, once a month?
Yeah.
They're just not getting it.
There's a part of it too. You also mentioned it before. You're like, it's probably a misname too, because I called it Beer Club initially because I was like, guys need to get together and have some beers, and almost none of us are drinking beer,
but almost nobody's drinking beer. You're drinking one of your sports drinks. All the guys are either drinking water or I'm drinking a Coke Zero.
Sometimes I'll have a Jack and Diet or something, but it's never beer. But a lot of the people won't join because they're like, well, I don't drink beer though. And I'm like, you could drink fucking water. It doesn't matter. So I'm like, God damn it. I'm going to have to rebrand it one of these days.
Think about it from a marketing standpoint. I think we were talking about this the other day. When you look at companies that are doing sales letters or they're sending out promotions or they want to brand the name of something that's actually helping, where people can go, because literally there should be 10 times the amount of people in Beer Club that are there because there's so much important stuff going on there. And I use it for my marriage because as everybody, as they say, marriage or LTRs are game on hard mode. And damn it, if that isn't the truth.
Yeah.
And it's really made a big difference in my life.
I think one thing that it is sort of conveyed though with the name of Beer Club is that it's relaxed,
It is absolutely relaxed.
Yeah. Because one of the big
other thing is people are busting balls like you wouldn't believe. I mean, that's why we've been kind of a little bust on each other. It's allowed. It's okay.
It's a good place to practice banter. Yeah, one of the things. Now I don't remember what I was going to say.
That's okay.
Let's see here. We were talking about
heard about it at some point and asked me on the Telegram.
we were talking about how it's a relaxed atmosphere. I don't know. I think a lot of people think that it's some kind of like group coaching. It's not really.
It's not coaching.
It's a men's community where men can connect with other men. Really, go
to men to talk about their issues, what's going on actively in their lives, what they need. It's where men can talk to each other. You don't want to go to your woman and talk about some of these things because they don't get it. They don't think like us. And let's face it, women have been talking together for thousands of years. They're the ones who came up with game. They're the ones who came up with, knowing things to say in certain situations. Guys, we haven't started learning this until the last 20 years with the advent of the internet, because now you've got guys coming together and sharing notes. And especially this last generation, the baby boomers after the World War II, they were raised differently than their parents were before them. And a lot of those things, they were thrown in the school system, whatever you want to call it. Parents were out working. They didn't really have time to spend with their families and learn from their fathers what it takes to be a man. And I think that's important and I know Dr. Robert Glover talks about it over and over. I mean, he kills a dead horse with it in Dating Essentials for Men and in No More Mr. Nice Guy, but he makes the point clear, men need to have a place where they can go and talk to other men. And I think that's the thing that's most important about Beer Club, especially the fact that we're using the Telegram to talk, because, it is very active and guys are sharing, intimate and personal details. There may be a problem in their life and we're coming together, like a group of brothers, helping our brothers out.
Yeah.
I just can't say enough good things about it. I felt strongly about it, especially after this last Beer Club. And that's why I mentioned to you, hey, we should get some guys together and talk about Beer Club because people don't really know what it is.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying about men being men before World War II and stuff like that. Men had a lot of men's only clubs that was very popular. You go join the Masons or something, or the fucking Royal Order of the Buffalo or whatever the fuck. Guys would get together. And women weren't allowed, and they got together, and it was separate from their wives, and they just talked guy shit, and that was what men did. And then feminism came in. They're like, you can't have men's only spaces. We have to be included, and that fucks up the dynamic of everything. That's why women aren't allowed in Beer Club.
Well, you've had okay. Here's an example. You've had talks with RP Thor, which is a guy that I would love to meet someday. You've had talks with other guys about testosterone. When men get together, they actually have developed higher levels of testosterone. when they're around women constantly, they don't have as much testosterone. And I don't mean that as a men need to be around men.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, Dr. Glover says when you're around women that you're not fucking, you're basically in the nursery. You know, you're in the nursery,
you're
and
being a girl, as he likes to call it, you're being a girlfriend with a penis.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, guys need that. They need a brotherhood, you know, like our tribe or whatever. That's what I like to say. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, the Telegram community. Well, I have mentioned it on the podcast a couple of times though. It's like sometimes it gets so fucking busy in there. And I'm trying to listen to an audiobook while I'm jogging, and it's just constantly skipping because I'm getting all these notifications because one of the guys in there is like chopping down a tree or something. I don't know. And then
oh yeah, he's doing it without a shirt on, chopping it down for all the women.
Right. And then and so then I'm like, God damn it. And at least on Telegram, you can put notifications on mute for like an hour, so that's a helpful feature. There's so many features on Telegram. That's why the original iteration that I tried to do, it wasn't called Beer Club. It was just going to be like a community for the podcast, and I tried to do it on a Discord server. And man, honestly, guys your age, guys my age, we're the kinds of guys that join Beer Club, you know. There's a few younger bucks in there, but mostly it's guys that are like over 35, and guys that are our age have a hard time figuring out things like Discord servers. Like that's for fucking gaming nerds. And so
hence I'm on a gaming computer now in my son's bedroom, as you can see all the stuff behind me.
Right.
My family makes fun of me because I'm technologically retarded.
Yeah, but your son probably is good at Discord servers. But anyway, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Don't know this. I actually met my wife back on AOL in the You Got Mail days in the Babylon 5 chat room 8 years ago.
Oh, so she's a Babylon 5 fan. Okay.
Oh, we're sci-fi nerds. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
I've got my PhD in Star Trek. She's got her PhD in Babylon 5. You know, as we always like to say. But there has to be something that, you know, you can come together with to share. We share sci-fi. That's about it, actually.
Okay. All right. So I was like, man, no one understands Discord. Everyone's confused by this. And so I was like, you know what? I'm on Telegram all the time. I was using Telegram for something else, and I was like, this is such a versatile app. Like I can send a video message. I can send voice messages. We learned that we can do group conference calls on it. You know, like it's a very versatile tool.
It's fantastic.
So you can send pictures. You can say, please don't send dick pics. We don't need to. We're not doing that. We don't want to do that.
Although
but
there are some funny memes sent in our Telegram chat.
People ask me all the time.
Hysterical.
People ask me all the time. They're like, "Where do you get these memes that I post on social media?" I'm like, Beer Club. Like the Beer Club guys are fucking giving me half of these.
And there's. I mean, you're only covering like a little bit of what's sent.
Yeah.
It's you know it's. Again, guys busting on each other, but having fun, talking problems.
Yeah.
It's a blast. And again, most of them are bald for some reason.
Yeah. Well, that's because it's the cool thing to do. Don't you know? It's in style now.
With the in crowd.
We're looks maxing with the baldness. Yeah. So you mentioned that you've been married for a long time. You were also quite a while there. Weren't very happy in your marriage.
I was ready to bail out. I was done.
Yeah.
I really was. We had talked about it a few times over the years before I ever joined your community. You know, I was listening to your stuff. I'd reach out a couple times. It just, you know, with the health issues and so this is the part of self-reflection that I can blame my wife for a lot of things. And trust me, there's a few there that I would be certainly justified with. Mm-hmm. But one of the things about learning in the red pill space, especially the things that you study, you really learn to take accountability for yourself and the way you've acted and the way I was raised in the family, the very conservative family. My father was always worried about whatever people thought, you know, don't bring any shame to the family for anything. And he raised me extremely blue pill. And I learned from that stuff. And what happened is when I got married, I stopped trying.
I did the same thing. Same thing.
I quit doing the things that would make her attracted to me. I took it for granted. I had reached the finish line as soon as I said I do. I didn't have to do anything. She was there to take care of the house. I was there to go out and slay the dragon and make the money. And that went on for a long time. And then we went into the health challenges. And, I know a lot of guys who go through a lot of health challenges, but I went through, some extremely significant challenges there. And I thought many times this was it, I'm done. And I was prepared for that with my Christian upbringing, but I wanted to live life some more. And I made it through. And I started telling myself the next 20 years, and I started researching everything I could. But I was very unhappy in my marriage, very unhappy. And I thought something needs to happen. So I started reading the books, and I started with the Christian books.
Right.
And I thought those were great. Turned out there were some good stuff in there. Coming from a Christian man's background, but there was a lot of bullshit in there too. A lot. Everything is the man's fault, apparently. What I was discovering in the Christian community, it was always if she's feeling this way, you didn't put enough time. If now this never happened in my marriage, but let's say if she cheated, well, you didn't give her enough attention, so it's your fault she cheated. That was the attitude it went. And then I started getting into, I discovered the red pill by chance. And then I discovered your podcast, and I started devouring the books. I know that you're always putting out memes of the current book you're reading. And every time I see one of those, I buy the book and I read it once I'm done with my next book. So I've been through the whole gamut there. And I go back and read because, again, I work all day. I'm out in the field all day. I've got Audible books going on constantly. I'm listening to them in the car, I probably do a book every 3 days. But when I started learning the stuff on relationships, and especially about the law of attraction in terms of what you're doing to attract women, in terms of the things that you're doing, married guys stop doing that 99% of the time because they don't think they need to anymore. And everybody says, oh, well, it's okay after so many years, to not be physically attracted or not to want to have time with your spouse. And I'm like, well, that's bullshit for me because I was on dialysis for 8 years and not able to do much. And then I get a kidney, and I always make the joke that I either got a Fremen kidney, which is a reference to Dune, those desert motherfuckers, or I got a porn star's kidney because I came out of that just like I say Fremen because I get cold all the time when I never used to get cold. But I wanted a different life. I absolutely wanted it. And it was from my place in it. I'm not going to go into the details of that because I could have family listening to this at some point. But I was very unhappy where things were at. And I made a decision. I've got to change things. And then I started hearing stories like yours and some of the other guys. And I know a lot of the people in the there's so many people in the red pill community that claim that this stuff that the stuff they talk about is red pill, and it's not. It's just toxic in many cases.
Yeah.
Red pill is about, improving yourself. And there's a lot of guys that will just dump so many years, and they'll try to put things back together, but you got to do it the right way. And that's where the hard mode comes in. You've got to get back your frame. You've got to get back, be able to agree and amplify when they shit test you. You've got to do things that are going to make them want you again, take them out. Treat them like you did doing our marriage was done. I was ready to walk. And then that was, I want to say, a year ago. And we're in I started implementing the things I learned from you and Ryan. I want to say the two biggest influences on my life in terms of reading podcasts and the stuff I've learned have been yourself and have been Ryan Stone. Okay.
Ryan, that son of a bitch.
Ah, that guy.
God fucking guy. He's got perfect teeth. 3 books. Fuck
well, the other guy too that really changed, and I should have mentioned him too, was the 2011 Married Man Sex Primer by Athol K.
Yeah,
that was the last book I did with taking notes and everything.
A lot of Ryan's influence comes from that too. Yeah.
That guy, Athol K, is amazing. That book is, and it's not meant for the women. This is meant for the guys and how to get, putting your map together, your male action plan together. And if you haven't read the book and if you want anything to do with an LTR or a long-term relationship, read the goddamn book.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not available on Audible though, which
it's
sucks.
Not. You got to actually read it. It's on Kindle.
Yeah. But I'm reading his second book. which Ryan told me it's like the second revision of his second book, because the original second book was just the male attraction plan.
Yeah.
And then he changed it because his wife started helping him with the business, and now it's the what is it? The it's not the male attraction plan now. It's the master attraction plan. I don't know. It's very woo woo. It's very woo woo. Which I'm all about the woo woo, you know. But it really is taking me out of it, because there's so much talk about energy, and this is good energy, and this is bad energy, and I'm like, I mean, you can really tone that down a little bit.
Man. Say it ain't so. You didn't join the dark side.
It's good information, but it's just the way it's worded. I'm just like, but I'm sucking it up. It's actually got some good stuff in there.
It's funny you make that phrase. My favorite phrase to my kids.
Yeah.
You know, I have a son that has Asperger's. He's 24 now. My daughter's 25. And I've tried to raise him, and this generation is a bunch of kiss-ass little puny Nancy boys, whatever you want to call them. And my favorite thing to tell him, because my son has the same exact condition I have, it's hereditary. And my favorite phrase to tell him is suck it up, buttercup. There's not going to be anything fair in life. You have to go and, you know, do for yourself what you want done. No one's going to do it for you. And no one's going to care that you have a physical ailment that it's going to drastically affect your life at some point. So you really, you really have to have a good mindset to it.
Yeah.
Like I said, that was one of those, shiny moments in my head. Squirrel.
Yeah. Let's see here. We're almost at an hour. I only got a couple more questions left. So you started working on the map. You're working on your map?
Yes. Right now, the map, I'm focusing on my losing weight, getting physically fit. Like I said, I've got these weird guys in this thing called Beer Club that seem to hold me accountable every day.
Right.
And actually working on, my on the things that I do that cause attraction, of making myself higher up on the chain than she is.
Oh, that's another thing I want to mention, because you also said that you were on the first date chapter of Corey Wayne's book.
Yeah.
One of the things I think a lot of guys don't understand, right? Because I do talk about dating, I do talk about relationships, and sometimes people think that's mutually exclusive, and it's not. Because if you are trying to set the tone and lead your relationship and trying to keep that attraction going a long time, you're going to want to date your girl. You're going to want to keep dating her, because if you don't date her, someone else will, which is something I learned from 3% Man. So these things where, in that book, or in my book, where it talks about how to act on a date, you can still do that in a fucking LTR. It's still helpful. It's still helpful. You
don't tell them where you're going. You go ahead and you make a plan up of what you're going to do, and and one of the things you can tell them is, okay, we're going to go out tonight. You need 2 changes of clothing. You're going to want something nice, and you're going to want something that you can play around. Oh, well, where are we going? No, that's for me to know, for you to find out. You're not going to know. Oh, and what you're doing is you're building that, as Corey Wayne talked about, you're building that anticipation. See, I'm remembering now a lot of what I read today, because it's coming into the fray. But you're building that anticipation. You're building, the tension, and they get really excited, because, again, like you've said many times, women just want to show up to the date and look pretty. They don't want to have to make up any plans. They just want to be there. And as Corey Wayne talks about, dating and falling in love with them is an experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an unfolding of a love story, and it
may not be fair for us. We have to do all the work, but guess what? Deal with the cards you're dealt, guys.
The way I look at it is, it's fun, man. I've changed my mind. I'm like, wait a second, I get to plan this out and do it what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. What the fuck? This is awesome. I can do everything I want to do. At the time of this recording, I'm getting ready to do a Book of Hook series episode. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to do that one live. By this time this comes out, it'll already have been out. But it's all about how, when you were a kid and you were playing with girls on the playground, you never fucking asked them what to play, because you knew that if you asked them, they would be like, let's play Barbies and shit. And everyone knows that playing with Barbies is fucking... Oh, I can't say that. I'm gonna have to bleep that out.
Now you got some editing to do.
I gotta put that in my notes there. I gotta bleep that out because YouTube's very strict on that. Anyway, you're not supposed to play Barbies with girls, and it's the worst thing you could possibly do. So what do you do when you play with girls? You say, we're playing cops and robbers, okay? You and I, we're cops, and we're gonna fight those robbers. Or you're the robber, and I'm the cop, and I'm gonna get you. And girls are just like giggly and happy to be there, And that's
simple too.
Yeah, so it's like if you just stop overthinking this stuff and go back to what you were used to do naturally, you're going to do much better. That's what the whole premise of that chapter is in Book of Puck. It's
looking forward to it. It's tomorrow's episode. That would be fantastic. I've been with everyone as you've been doing. Granted, I don't get to listen to them live because I'm usually working at the time you have them out.
Right. You're on a Spotify listener.
Yeah, I have to do it on Spotify because when you're doing it at 7 a.m. for me, and I'm showing up at accounts and I'm barreling down, to do what I need to do.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what the replay's for. But actually, the Book of Puck series has been pretty popular. It's been way more popular than the Science of Getting Rich series was, which is sad because there's a lot of information in Science of Getting Rich. But guys are like, "What? I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, I want to get the whamming." Yeah, all right.
Well, that's what brings everybody to the space, Paul.
Oh, it is. Oh, 100%.
It's the one thing.
Yeah, they want to. Actually, what the biggest thing that gets guys into space? Getting an X back. That is number one, bar none. What guys want.
Yeah, I get it. I know Benny's doing that. I never knew him except other than what he's been on your episodes or you guys talking about him. But the one thing I have learned from the books is it's usually a bad idea to go for that X.
Yeah, it's a bad idea.
It's bad idea.
I have some ads running on Facebook because I learned that from Benny, just like how much business he gets from the X-Back thing. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to run ads talking about how I know you're thinking about getting your X-Back. It's a bad idea. And that's actually doing pretty good.
Nice.
So
at least you know your market audience now. You're going to a niche, which they teach you in marketing. What you got to do is go for your niche. Trying.
All right, man. So let me ask you this last question here, and then we'll wrap up. You are a 3% brother, and what I like to ask all 3% brothers when they first come on the show is, we all know what the book says a 3% man is, but what does being a 3% man mean to you?
So my answer is going to be a little different from some of the answers you've gotten in the past when you have 3% brothers on. I come from the background of I know some stuff, but there's much more I don't know than what I know. So I come it as a student. There's never a point in my life where I want to stop learning. And being a 3% man to me is about going after the information that I don't know, learning what I need to know to get better at the aspects of my life where I want to get better at them. Because you look at society today, so few people actually are going for what they want or will take any time to go out and do it. And I think just by setting your goals, you have your goal board and other things, just by setting your goals, going out and spending time learning about the things that you're learning, that doesn't put you in 3%. That puts you in like 1 out of 500. I mean, so few people actually do it. So it even takes it to another level. I think 3% is, when it comes to that, never stop being a student. Never stop learning. You got too many guys that they'll learn something, go, oh, I know everything. I don't need to learn anything anymore. Well, how did that work for the guys in the book, The Game, when they got the girl and they couldn't keep them for anything and they quit learning? You talk about, you started this podcast because, and this is from a long time ago, you said this, but you wanted to stay in the learning phase of this so you don't screw up. And now you've got a great relationship with a gal, and you've got a fairly good following of guys that follow you, and we work and talk together. So I can't say enough good things about this.
Yeah. I used to say I wanted to be like the Bob Proctor of game, because Bob Proctor was known for having read Think and Grow Rich like for 60 years nonstop. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to read this shit. I'm going to read my Holy Trinity of dating books until I'm fucking dead. I'm never going to stop.
I do that with the dating books. And if you're married, no, This is good for marriages too. But I also have a holy trinity of like prospecting books for business and sales books. And well, actually it's not a trinity, it's a 4 quad, whatever. But I'm always reading something. I'm always trying to learn, whether it be I'm trying to get back in the shape I used to be before all these physical ailments. I know how to sell, I know how to talk to people, but I'm working on my business right now. I'm especially working on my relationship right now, and those are the things I concentrate on, and that's what I think for me. Maybe not for other people, but for me, that's what being a 3% man means.
Yeah. Well, that was a good answer. I liked it. David, do you want people to find you online? Some people
there's
don't.
a very specific place they can find me. What they need to do is go to the show notes at the bottom. And there's a place on Gumroad called Beer Club. And what you do is you want to sign up for that place and go on there, and you'll see David in the chat all the time. Otherwise, I don't post anything on social media. I don't share my life with a bunch of people. I don't talk about my daily problems on Facebook or Instagram, especially TikTok. Go to Beer Club. You will really like it.
You don't spend your day vague booking about, oh, woe is me. No,
I'm not that kind of guy to begin with. I'm not. That's not my personality to begin with.
Yeah.
Hence my favorite phrase to my kids is "suck it up, Buttercup."
Yeah, that's good. All right. Yeah. So find David in Beer Club. David, you're welcome back anytime. This was a fun conversation, man.
It was really nice being on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. David, thanks again for joining me, man. You are welcome back anytime. I know you're waiting to hear that. You're waiting to hear if I say it or not, right? You're waiting to hear it. People that have been following the podcast, they know what's up. They know that if I don't say that, you're not invited back. But no, David's a good dude. He's a very active member in the Beer Club. We all like him. He's got lots of really useful information. All right, guys, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it. If you haven't done so yet, do like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, even if they're pre-recorded. Thanks to everybody that sounded off in the live chat. If you guys are watching the replay if you're watching the replay on YouTube, drop a comment below your favorite emoji. It doesn't really matter. That all helps boost us in the algorithm. If you guys are listening on your favorite audio platform, give us a 5-star review. It helps more than, especially on iTunes. I don't know if any of you guys sent super chats. It's not too late though. And remember, if you send them during a pre-record, I'll screenshot it and give you a shout out on social media. Speaking of social media, follow me. The links are in the description. Get on the email list, guys, list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you a bunch of free stuff, including a free chapter of my book, Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18, which is available on Amazon and Audible. Guys, do join the Beer Club, okay? It is really an excellent group of men, and men need a tribe. Men need a brotherhood, okay? So check that out. Go to beer.comeonmanpod.com. Our next meetup is this Thursday, June 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, okay? So get in the Beer Club. You can sign up with a free trial, okay? If you don't like it, you don't pay, right? Get out before you get charged. No harm, no foul. But if you do like it, stay in the group. Okay, it's only $10 a month. And then, guys, coaching is available. Remember, I just recently reduced my pricing, so coaching's available. If you go to coaching.comeonmanpod.com, you can work with me. I do have a couple of seats available. All right, guys, that's all I have for this episode. We will see you guys Wednesday for the live stream.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, go out and get it.